Hello, everyone. Welcome to SAFC Fan TV Thursday Night Live with a not so full panel. I think we exhausted ourselves on our Beale special. So the leftovers are me and Jack. How are you doing, Jack?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, a little bit sparse tonight, but it'll still be a good show. We can promise you there'll be plenty of Sunderland talk, and yeah, plenty to talk about. But you might just have to bear with only two voices rather than three or four. I'm afraid, people.
Yeah, well, this is it. So, well, they're probably sick of my voice even when there's four people in. So, but you got to put up with it. 46 in already. So, have we got comments already? Do you want to say hello to the people in the
Yeah,
comments?
so the usual, well, not always, but usually one of the first ones on is Last Palmas Mackham, so shout out to him. Evening, lads. Paul Armstrong saying hello. Conrad Tank, evening all. Stephen Clark, evening, lads. And Dean SAFC says hello. So few in. If you're watching, obviously, drop your comments in if there's anything you want us to discuss, particularly. Plenty of time and plenty of scope to talk about it. So, and Nathan Rose just popping in saying hello as well.
Yeah, well, so we'll start with Birmingham. I suppose we'll have to. Back in them glory days when Beale was still in charge.
Uh-huh.
Lost 2-1, obviously. Jack Clark, great goal. I was doing the live commentary, and yeah, elation when he scored, thinking, oh, here we go, we're going to get another win here. Going to break our away record. But lo and behold, Beale's tactics and substitutes, or lack thereof, ruined the day. Were you there, Jack?
I was, yes. And do you know what it is? I don't know about you, Mike, but it seems like that match was ages ago, and wasn't even a week. It was only sort of 5 days ago. But we've had all of the reaction from it, and then all of the fallout with Bale going and what happened after that. And so it seems like it's been a while ago, and it was only sort of 5 days ago. But yeah, I mean, we started the game pretty well. I actually thought we were slightly marginally the better team. I don't think there was that much in it, but I did think we shaded it. We had more of the ball. A lot of the game was being played in their half, and we weren't carving them open, I would say. But I felt like we looked a little bit more threatening than they did. And I was just thinking, can we get a goal? And like you say, the goal came. Good pressing by Jack Clark. Backed them up and pressed them into a mistake. And then, as he usually does, thankfully, Jack Clark gets a sniff of goal and he puts it away. And everything's looking great, isn't it? We're 1-0 up going into half time with the team on top. At that point, everything was going swimmingly, wasn't it? We got our noses in front. We were playing the better football. And yeah,
then came a Beale halftime team talk.
Yes, sadly, as you touched on, which I'll come on to in a second, it just didn't quite materialise in the second half. So whether or not it was Bale's tactics or substitutions that he should have made, or I think it was probably a combination of that and an improved Birmingham performance in the second half, because they were much better. I mean, we always look at things from a Sunderland perspective, don't we? But I think they were much better in the second half than they were in the first. They were much more on the front foot, more aggressive. And yeah, sadly, it turned into a bad result and a 2-1 loss from a winning position, which is really, really poor, really, from our perspective.
Yeah, it was. Do you think it was us that we kind of eased off? We were pressuring them in that first half. Like you say, they were we were forcing mistakes. We seemed to ease off that gas pedal in the second half. I don't know if he said, right, lads, comfortable here, back off a bit, and that's what's done it.
I think partly it's a bit of both. So I think naturally when you're in front, particularly away from home, I think there's a mindset among the footballers to sort of among the players to try and, I wouldn't say sit back and park the bus, but you realise that you've got the goal that you need, and we actually, if we get the counter attack right, we're quite not so much under Bale, but particularly under Mowbray, we were quite good on the counter attack. So it wasn't a case of sitting back, but it was just a case of waiting for them to come out and then sniff blood and get on top and if you can counter in the second half. But we didn't ever get a foothold in the game in the second half. They were all over us, weren't they? Let's be honest. And you could see the goal coming before the equaliser came, couldn't you, Mike? You could see it. It was coming, it was brewing, and then it came. And then you're looking for a reaction, aren't you? You know what I mean? You're looking for something. What can Bale do? Is he gonna change it? Are we gonna improve? And it was nothing there. There was only one team that were going to win it, and unfortunately, it wasn't our lads.
We didn't have that same get up and go after conceding like we did on previous games. It was just we just didn't have any fire left in. Speaking of his subs, though, For me, one of the worst ones was taking Mundell off. He was full of energy, all over the pitch, threatening goal. What did you think of him? It's the first
Yeah.
time we've seen him for like a prolonged stint on the pitch, right?
Yeah, I liked what I saw. To be fair, what I like about him. He's lively. He's always willing to get on the ball and try something. You know, and even if he's not involved, he's looking to get involved. So sometimes wingers can be not stranded, but if they're not involved in the game, you can go 50, 60 minutes and they're hardly seeing the ball. But with Mundell, I like the fact he was trying to get involved. I was pleased he didn't put any of the tackles he put in against Huddersfield when he came off the bench, because that was a little bit over the top. But he looked a little bit more disciplined, thankfully, on Saturday. And yeah, I'm not sure what the thinking was with changing him, unless it was a fitness thing, Mike. That might have been the only thing I can think of. If he's not up to 90 minutes yet. Sorry, you wanted him.
Yeah, but he left Job on the pitch. Who was doing nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the guy wonders why he got fired, and he quotes results and points based on other managers. Try looking at your tactics and just the stupid, daft crap.
Yeah, I know. It was a bit of a strange one, because Bellingham wasn't offering anything, and if anything, he was looking like he was sort of running around trying too hard. I don't know whether he was trying to prove a point because it was Birmingham, but everything he was doing was misplacing passes and not supporting when we were going forward. And he didn't have that great of a game, to be fair. But there's been a few comments in the chat, so just bring those in. So SJ says that's Mundell taking Clark's place until he's fit in a month's time. That's something we might come on to later on. Mick Coleman and Colin Major saying, hello, lads. Our very own Conrad Lee saying it was a hideous game. I couldn't disagree with that, to be fair, Mike, too much. Mickey Max in saying, good about Clarkey. Well, yeah, we'll come on to that in a second, as was touched on. Clark's not playing on Saturday, which is a hammer blow. Paul Armstrong says, what do you think we'll do without Clark and Ballard out? Again, we'll come on to it. Nathan Rowe saying the same. Stephen Clark, apparently it was Wan who sacked Beale. Wan Sartori, possibly.
I saw reports of that. I think at the moment it was just Twitter posts. I've not seen anything official on it.
Yeah. Jarrett Andy will get a glimpse of what's to come next season with Mundell coming in for Clark. Well, I hate to say it, but I'm leaning towards the fact I agree. It is pointing towards Jack Clark going in the summer. We'll maybe touch on that later on. Susan Bowman, Beale, who? Yeah, I will have to mention him a little bit, but we'll try and not focus.
This will be the last time.
This is the last show his name will be mentioned, probably disparagingly in the next few shows, but very, very briefly. John Nesbitt says, good evening, lads. Stephen Clark, last one. Leo Fewer Helder is apparently injured as well as Clark. So if we've got Helder out, Clark out injured, and Ballard suspended.
I didn't know Helder was out.
Yeah, that might have just been a one today, to be fair. I mean, we knew about Ballard with his suspension and obviously Clark, but if Helder's
Elise is still out as well, isn't he?
Elise, yeah. I mean, what do we do to left backs, by the way, Mike? Because it doesn't matter what we do with the left back. We can't get a left back to stay fit and play a solid run of games. And this is not just this season. It's going back 3, 4, 5 years.
Maybe that's what the new coach is for. Maybe he's purely for left back fitness. That's
bringing in Sunderland, a groundbreaking. They're bringing in the first ever specific left back fitness coach. 1-to-1 with the left back.
I mean, let's talk. Obviously, we'll preview the game at the end of this, but let's talk these injuries because obviously it affects the lineups. I mean, we've got Clark. He was injured at Huddersfield, but then aggravated it further by being played at Birmingham. This is another thing that baffles me with the subs. If he's injured, why is he doing 90 minutes?
I think it's probably just because we're relying on him so much, you know what I mean? And it's wrong because if a player's injured and you aggravate it, then it makes it terrible for the next week. And that's proven. You're right, Mike. But I think it's probably that Beale knows he's maybe struggling with results and struggling to win the fans over. And if Jack Clark said he's okay and he leaves him out and we lose the game, then you'll probably look at it and think he's going to come under heavy criticism for leaving out arguably our best player. So I know what you're saying, but he might have been in a bit of a difficult position to leave him out. And we do rely on him so much, don't we? Do you know what I mean? He's our main creative force. He's our top scorer. Do you know what I mean? A lot of our play, particularly away from home, comes through Jack Clark. There's been very few goals this season away from home that haven't been scored by Jack Clark. I'm struggling to think of many at all, going back to sort of September when we beat Sheffield Wednesday. There's hardly been any away goals. Rushin at Middlesbrough maybe, but other than that, he's been one of the only threats away from home a lot of the time this season. So yeah, I think it was a bit of a difficult position for him to be in, to try and leave him out. And he might have said he's fitter than he is at the time. I don't know.
Do you think the injuries are the reason we've pulled Dak away from his blossoming ITV morning career and Love Island career and everything else he's doing at the moment? Do you think that's why he's training again with the lads?
Possibly. I mean, when you're down to the bare bones, you need every player you can get, and whether or not Bradley Dack's mind's still at Sunderland and whether or not he still wants to be a Sunderland player till the end of the season, never mind next season, I'm not too sure, but he's contracted to us, we need him, so we'll get him back involved. But in all seriousness, I think we are looking a little bit stretched now, aren't we, in squad-wise? We've picked up a few injuries, and then the suspension of Ballard, which is going to be a huge, he'll be a huge miss at the back in the next two games. Less so, hopefully, against Swansea, but massively down at Norwich next week, because he's missing for two, isn't he, with the 10 yellows. That'll be particularly at Norwich, he'll be a huge miss.
Right, yeah. So it's Ballard. Dak is technically still injured. Let's ask Jacob what he thinks. We've got Jacob joining us. Here we go. Jacob, we're becoming that Sunderland team we know from years gone by, where we are injury plagued towards the end of a season, and it seems to be getting that way. So, what do you what's your thoughts on what are we going to do? I mean, we're not quite previewing the game yet, but obviously some thoughts have got to be put into it while we're talking about the injuries. We've barely got a defence.
We just got to weather this storm, mate, and do the best we can, to be honest. I mean, speaking of the defence, I mean, it's not only Clark that looks like it's going to be ruled out for the weekend, also Hjelde as well. So does that mean that Hume's going to go to left back, and the only person we can put on that side is either Steele or Pembele? Well, Steele probably looks like he's going to have to play alongside 09 at centre-half. So it looks like we have no choice but to go with a back four, even though Dodds, in those two games he was there as interim, he went with a 3. So, yeah, he's got his hands tied behind his back regarding options he's got in his first game back as interim manager. But we can only hope that he puts out a team on Saturday that can put a good reaction performance, I should say.
Yeah. Yes, it's worrying times for the defenders, especially when that's what we brought in the transfer window. Do we know how long Yelder's out for? I've not heard anything on this one yet.
I've heard apparently it could be 3 weeks potentially, and I heard apparently Clark might not be back until after the international break, like Roberts. But I hope I'm massively wrong, by the way. I really do.
Have we got an update on the lad's styles? Because I've saw him in training, apparently. Does he? I mean, he's going to be nowhere near match fit probably, but could he potentially feature for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes?
We might not have a choice.
I think he will. I don't think he'd be that unmatch fit, because it was a minor surgery, wasn't it? It was a scheduled minor surgery, something like appendix. Is that right? Yeah. So he'd have been playing all the way up until the point he's going, or training all the way up until the point he's going into hospital. Then he comes out and he's had his 2 weeks recovery. It's not all we've played worse conditioned players.
Yeah, because I mean, it doesn't help the defender, because I think he's more of a. Although actually, can he play utility right back? Can he play? I mean, I don't know. I might be.
I knew him as a defensive midfielder. Yeah, but
yeah, well, that's what I thought as well. But I'm just trying. I think what Jacob said's probably going to have to be what we go with. So I mean, we'll talk about it later.
It's anybody's guess, because did you see the footage of Sealt scoring in training? Man, he could go up front.
Was that a fluke though? Was that a fluke?
He looked too calm and collected for that to be a fluke.
It was like he turned into sort of a combination of Dimitar Berbatov and Dennis Bergkamp all in one, didn't he? And sort of flicked it round the corner and into net. It was a very good finish.
It is interesting watching the training sessions to see how much confidence the lads have when they're playing against each other. You notice that, like when I managed, you notice that like they'll play amazing against each other because they know exactly what everyone does. As soon as they get onto a full size pitch, they're like, oh. Do you want in, Jacob?
With the Hjelde injury, I worry about us at fullback, because I'm not a fan at all of Hume going to the left-hand side. The guy's just completely one-footed. And we've struggled in games where he has gone to left-back simply because it's the wrong side. He just can't cut in on his stronger foot and use the ball. I know that's not really an excuse for any player playing at fullback, really. But Pembele, from what I've seen, I know has he been given a fair chance? It's up for debate, but I've not been convinced from what I've seen from him so far on a defensive point of view, and also
if you're bringing Pembele in because you're forced into that decision. So let's say we were stuck with Sealt and 09 in the back two, and you bring in Pembele in. Would you leave Hume on the side he's used to and play Pembele slightly out of position because he's the one that's got to earn his place, or is that going to be worse? Do you have the experienced player go out of position, or do you have the player that's not had much match time?
I also wouldn't trust Pembele going to left back either. So we may not. I mean, the only other person I can think that would do a role at left back would be, I know Dan Neil played that role when we were in League One, but there's no way I want Dan Neil playing at left back in this situation. 09 potentially has done that role before. Well, he can.
09's done every role.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He'd go in goal if he wanted to. I mean, I don't know the update on. Someone could correct us on the chat here about Elise when he's due back. I'm pretty sure it's soon though.
It still says on team news rumours, it still says doubt. It doesn't say injured, it says doubt. So I don't know if he trained or not. I didn't see him on the training footage I saw. Do you want to go to the comments, Jack, before we lose track? Because there might be a few in there.
Yeah, we've got a few to catch up on. So I'll try and go from where I left off. Mick Coleman says, do you think that Clark's injury could be a blessing in disguise? It might force us to seek different plans to score the goals as we are relying totally on Clark's attacking prowess. I like his thinking, but I couldn't disagree with him more. I think there's no way Clark's injury can be a blessing in disguise at all. I think we're going to heavily miss him. I hope I'm wrong. I hope everybody else plays really well and we win without him, but he's such a force for us and he's a huge attacking threat. Brian Scotia says, hi lads, Beale is toast. Malcolm Thorpe, forget about Beale, he's gone. Stephen Clark, they're all made of class. I think he means, does he mean glass? I'm not sure if he means they're all made of glass. I think he means they're all made of glass when we were talking about the left back. It's quite, I mean, it might be, yeah, they're all made of glass. It's a play on words, maybe. A few saying 4-4-2. Dean SAFC, Stephen Clark, Susan Beaumont. They're all saying, can we go 4-4-2? Stephen Clark's also saying Mundland Bar on the wings, Job, Adil Ashishi and Neil in the centre, Hume left back, Pembele right back and Seal 09 central defence. I don't think you'll be too far away with that. Maybe one or two changes on the wings. DJ says, Watson, evening boys, Beale never had a plan B, never mind a plan A. Even if we stuck 52 seats in Beale's mouth, he still wouldn't make a coach. I didn't know where he was going with that when I was reading that one. John Nesbitt says, very interesting few weeks coming up. Susan Beaumont saying wants to see Rig on the field. I think that's about it for now.
Yeah. Jacob's doing a terror here. He's going to disappear and reappear. One thing I just want to mention there, because they were all about 4-4-2. One thing I have, and people saying, we'll see Mundle on the left, we'll see us try and play without Jack Clark. One team I saw, do you know how people post their teams for the weekend, like on Twitter and that? One had, and a few people have mentioned it, Rusin on the left. Apparently he can play there. So what do you think about that as an option, Jacob? Would you like to see him in something like that? Because he's got the run on him. You've seen the runs on him.
I think that could be a decent option to be. I think there's one thing that is guaranteed for this weekend. Dodds will play more width in the side to what Beale's played the past couple of weeks. It's just a shame he hasn't got Clark for this game, really. But, I mean, all will be revealed in his presser tomorrow, but it's highly unlikely he'll be involved. But I think also a big debate is what service will be provided to Rushin in behind. Does he stick with that midfield three that started against Plymouth with Neil Equibar, or will it be more the case of Barr playing out wide rather than slotted into a midfield three? to support the forward line with Rush. I would be open, honestly, to. I know Rushin's that sort of striker where it's more effective when we're on the counter attack, but him playing properly alongside someone in a 2, I think could benefit his game so much. So roll on Hamir back in the side. I said at the start of the season, people will go in on socials, criticising his attitude in reserve games, but that level of football is a completely different kettle of fish, and I wouldn't rule him out as a player just yet. I think he's got a lot more to prove, and it could be the perfect time for him to step up in the situation we're in.
Yeah, I mean, we're dangerously close to previewing the next game with these discussions, but the discussions are all team stuff at the moment. I'll tell you one thing I do want to ask you both about. I'll start with you, Jack. Yann Villa said that he'd never return to the Championship unless it was in red and white.
Yeah, I know. It was one of those players that our fans just absolutely begged and wanted to come. We have them come around quite often. Obviously, Amad Diallo was the big one this season, and there was rumours that Mvia was coming back. I'm not crying that he hasn't come here, but I am interested to see how he gets on at West Brom. Interested to see how fit he is, how good of a player he is. Because I don't doubt he's still got something in him, but it was a while back he was at us and he's the wrong side, well the wrong side of 30. So I'm not saying he's past it, but I'd be very interested to see how well he does at West Brom. But I'm not too good that he wasn't here. And I think our fans are quite sentimental sometimes and they like players back that have done well for us. So I can see the thinking, but I'm interested to see how he gets on.
Yeah. What about you, Jacob? Are you angry that he broke his promise?
I'll always be heartbroken about Mvia being left at the airport to rot back in that summer transfer window deadline day in 2016, I think it was, with that Instagram post. But yeah, listen, he was linked, but it was highly unlikely he was going to come back, to be fair, just knowing the motto the club are under at this moment in time. I think it'll be interesting to know the wages he's on at West Brom, but probably it's I don't. Where was he playing at before? I think his last club was in the Champions League, from what someone told me.
I don't think he's been playing all season though, has he? Was his last club not last season? Has he had the whole August till now out? Has he? I think
he's been without a club for a while, as far as I know.
So I can understand why that would have been in the club's thoughts. We want someone who can be fully fit and hit the ground running straight away. I think for the wages he would have been requesting for someone to come in and be wanting to be a first team regular in the side, even though he hasn't played for a couple of months. I can understand where that point of view is from the recruitment team. But at the same time, he is still a great asset and a great player to have for any team in that league with the experience and the levels he's played at. But like what Jack said, I think he's 33, 34 now. So he's probably a different player to what he was when he was with us during that 15-16 season.
Yeah.
I think I was just checking, and I think I've only just Wikipedia him, and it was Olympiakos, so he's playing in the Greek league. He did play 95 games across the 3 seasons, but it was only a 3-year contract he got, so they didn't renew his contract, and he was out of work from August till now. So I don't think they've gotten him on a short-term deal. I don't know how fit he'll actually be, but I'll be interested. I would keep an eye on him for the few games he's going to play for West Brom. It will be interesting to see how he does. And we do still have to go to the Hawthorns, by the way. I don't know if anyone's aware of that, but we have West Brom away, so you know what Sunderland are like. He'll probably have an absolute stormer if he plays.
Yeah, probably. His fitness is good because, maybe not so much like match fitness is slightly different, but he runs his own fitness thing. And that's all his social media has been for the last 6 months. So, because obviously I was doing all the research when the rumours were around. But yeah, I, for one, sent him an angry message, but never mind. We won't go there.
You're on Via Watch, were you, Mike? Watch.
Yeah, I'm on every watch. Right.
I think there's been a few more comments. So should I bring them in? So
bring them in first. Yeah.
Last Palmas Markham, selling of Clark will prove or kill the model. The money from Clark has to be ploughed back into buying strikers. If not, then the model is a sham. And I don't know specifically about strikers, but I think every Sunderland fan will be up in arms if we do sell Clark and none of the money is reinvested. I think that is the plan. even as critical as we've been of Speakman, I do think that is sort of the player. Use the money to just bring in players to strengthen all round if you are losing a good player. David Walker-Styles can play left back. That might be an option for left back. I don't know if putting him in at left back when he hasn't played that good of an idea, but it might be an option if we are down to bare bones like we are. John Nesbitt, the shackles will be totally off now that Michael Beale is gone, so hopefully we should see more energetic performances. I hope he's right. I hope so. The style of football was poor under Beale, so hopefully we are a bit more creative. Real JBA, I wouldn't play Rushin on the wing, as he did that against Stoke earlier on, and it...
Oh, is he froze?
Yeah, someone defrost him.
Oh, we've frozen. I'm not sure what's happened there. Okay. Where was he up to?
Can sort it out, hopefully.
Where was he up to? Real JBA, I have a feeling this week will play without 09, as he will be most likely get a yellow card against Swansea. Well, this is it. He's only one away from a ban now, is 09, isn't he?
Yeah, one yellow. And I think that once he gets that, it's the same punishment that Ballard's received in it, 2 games.
Yeah. So that's going to be good. If he goes out, then we're going to have no Ballard and no 09 for one of the games. So he's got to be bloody careful in the next game.
If that's the case, I don't know. He may have to go with a wide player playing as a wing back, maybe. I don't know.
And let's just fingers crossed we don't have to cross that bridge. There's so many little players. Oh, it's scary. How many consecutive games has Clark played? He's done well to only get injured now, says Stu Coates. Apparently, Style is capable left back. Could be a shout for the weekend, says Jera and YFTM. Better than Joby also says. Paggard says Hume is totally right-sided. He offered his left hand to Beale and was completely ignored. Las Palmas Mac and the selling of Clark will prove or kill the model. The money the Clark has to be ploughed. He's already said that about being reinvested, hasn't he? Yeah, I'm not sure where Jack left off on them, so we'll quickly move on. I wanted to ask if you know anything about this coach, Jacob. We've made a signing, way, and it's a coach for the first team. Anthony Hayes comes from Charlton. Actually managed Charlton for 2 or 3 games in 2022 when they lost the manager as a caretaker manager. Do you know anything about him? Do you know?
No. Clear answer. Crystal clear, mate. No, but I think people are getting the wrong end of the stick, particularly from what I saw on Twitter today. I think that some were questioning, we've got this coach from a side that's a division below us, but at the same time, that shouldn't have much of an effect on what Dodds will want to do with the team. I think it will be someone just to Dodds will be there for the tactics and how we set up, but at the same time, someone has to be alongside him to help improve the players for this run into the... I mean, I don't know whether it's a full-time agreement or he's come in for this period.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see that we're actually looking like we're putting some investment in if it was needed, even if it is just a coach. It's if it clearly somebody identified a problem, maybe Dodds identified that. I don't know if Beale took anyone with him when he left, did he? I don't think he did. I don't think any staff left when he left.
No, because if you look at the shots of the dugout when he was in charge, it was pretty much the same staff that was there when Mowbray was at the helm. I think the players were just... I think for what's happened this past week, it just sums up how much of a character and just a beacon of light Mowbray was to that dressing room. Because apparently from what I've been told, Beale, obviously he had the final say on the tactics for how they set up on a Saturday, but at the same time he wasn't really making much appearances for training. He was still he didn't move his family down. He was still up in Glasgow at the time, so that's always going to create a bit of unsettlement on the. I mean, that was the same situation we were in when we had Martin O'Neill in charge towards the back end. He was only turning up for training once, twice a week, and there was unsettlement in the squad at the time, and you need someone that I think Dodds has got completely different ideas to what Beale had, and they worked before. And Dodds was obviously there when Mowbray was there, so the players do trust Michael Dodds. And the thing with Beale, I mean, you saw when the sacking was announced for Instagram, the amount of people that liked the post. With Beale leaving.
So there's 140 people watching. Make sure you hit like, subscribe if you're new to the channel. It's all appreciated. Get your comments in. I'll try and get through a few of the comments now. Stephen Clark says, don't worry, we'll see him via when we play West Bromwich Albion on the 13th of April. That's what Jack mentioned, that we're playing them next. John Nesbitt says, maybe this young owner is learning fast. Hopefully he can take these last few months on board and be more flexible with the signings. After all, quality players come from all ages. Conrad, Jack's frozen fighting face. John Nesbitt, I knew there was a God out there. See you, Jack. Oh, wow. This model reminds me of Airfix. Nothing quite fits, says Colin Major. Stephen Clark, Anthony Hayes is the only with us until the end of the season anyway. Well, maybe that's because they expect a manager to bring people with him, potentially, or give him more of a say if they're adjusting the model.
Beale had maybe at least one or two members of his staff with him that he had at QPR and Rangers, so hence why we've had to make this decision.
Possibly. Right. So, I know we touched on it in our Beale special, Jacob, but it's going to be the talking point probably of everyone. Next coach, next manager. Will Still seems to be topping the charts. There's some very unusual names in the betting odds. Steve Bruce is in there at 8-1. I mean, surely not.
I thought he'd retired.
I thought he was dead. Who's your money on at the moment?
I'm undecided, mate. To be honest, I really am undecided. It's one of those where this next appointment has to be spot on, where it's almost to the point where I'm enjoying Dodds being back for this moment in time, because I think if we rush into things like we did the last time, we'll regret it even more. So let's just take a bit of time out to reassess what options could be available to us and what direction we want to go down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone's saying obviously Dodd's got it to the end of the season, but the belief is there that if somebody approaches or somebody becomes available, that we could potentially bring them in sooner. What do you think of Will Still? Because obviously everyone was keen for him at the end of last season. Well, sorry, not end of last season. What am I about? When Mowbray went. Feels like ages ago. Yeah. Everyone was keen for him, but in his current position, I think he's lost 8 out of the last 10 games. So he's not doing as well as he was. Do you still think he'd be a good candidate?
He'll be in the running, I think, but do I think we'll go for him? I think we potentially may want to look elsewhere. Now, I think after what's happened with Beale for the past couple of weeks, them wanting to go down a young coach route, I think they may want to add a little bit more experience in there, but someone who's definitely got a better recent record with results in management. Yeah.
There's a lot of talk of previous managers. I mean, I'm not a fan of bringing in a manager that we've had before. What's your thoughts on that?
They'll probably want more money than what they were on before, and yeah, it will be a contract that the club will simply not want to give them if they want to come back, or if the club wants them to come back as well.
Yeah. I've lost the odds. I did have all the odds, but they've disappeared on me. I was going to go through the list of.
Yeah, I know people on about Roy Keane, but would you agree the game's changed a lot for when he was in management with us and Ipswich?
I don't think the game's changed as much in management. I think he could still do a job like that. But I don't think he would fit into this model. I think the owners would have to bend way too much to try and accommodate what he'd want coming in. There's no way Roy Keane's going to come in and be told he can't bring his own players in, he can't put his own team together. Yeah. He's just not going to do it, is he?
It would be a good short-term option to inject confidence in players that are lacking belief, but there's no way he'll work in a long-term option, considering what ideas he'll have different to this current regime we have in place.
Yeah. This is it. Let's have a look in the comments if anyone's mentioning about the managers. John Nesbitt says, new coach, hope he does well. Noah Pencock, hopefully we can get playoffs. Real JBA says, as my friend Andy J says, bring back Bruce. No, thank you. Stephen Clark said, I thought Steve Bruce was going to Korea. Paul Howe, do you not think Dodds has a lot to do with setting up the team under Beale? He did under Mowbray. Yes and no. Yes, I think he had some influence, but he definitely didn't have the choices because when Dodds was in charge, we saw him adapt per game. I think he did 3 different formations over the space of 3 or 4 games. You know what I mean? He adapted each time. He changed it with Leeds and he changed the players around. He changed who's starting where. Beale just didn't want to change anything by the looks of it.
No, we played with more or less a 4-3-3 for the majority of the games under Beale. Very rarely did we go with any width, particularly away from home. He wanted us to be more compact, but there's better ways of doing that to make us more effective when we do catch teams on the break. And it only worked at home for me. Yeah. For some reason, he decided to just completely tweak the side of how we played when we go away from home, which I just didn't understand in the slightest. What we got from Dodds in those 3 games he was there was he definitely was more cautious about us conceding rather than us scoring. He was patient, but he did get, when things weren't working, he knew how to change games to make us more a threat in latter stages. Take that Leeds game, for example, where
everyone had written us off before that game as well.
He moved Roberts to the right-hand side. He didn't start him, even though a lot of people were questioning why he didn't play him. And then he moved, Job from midfield to up front for the final 15 minutes, and that got us a 1-0 win.
Yeah. And everyone had written us off for that game, like I say. So I'm optimistic that he can do a job up until the point we get a full-time coach. I'm not sure he should take on the manager's role at the end of it. I can't see him being... getting us to the Premier League at any point. Mick Coleman says, Roy Keane must surely be very rich. He doesn't need too much wages. Get him in now. Like I said, Mick, I don't think it's the wages. I think it'll be the terms that would stop that. DJ Sizzler Watson says, should we give Rigg a start? Correct me if I'm wrong. Hasn't he scored in most of the games he started? And come on, still hasn't ever played football. Wasn't he one of the FIFA PS games? Wasn't he one of the FIFA PS games? I'm not sure. What do you think, Rigg starting? Think he should get a start?
I wouldn't be against it if he was to be in the starting lineup when I'm there on Saturday. I'll back it complete. I think it will get the crowd on their feet from minute 1. But part of me still thinks he'll want someone who's had more minutes this season, which is why I think he could potentially look at bringing Ashish back in, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Conrad Tank says, must get more consistency in manager coaching department. All managers since Roy Keane have lasted less than 100 matches before being sacked or left the club. I think that's football these days. I said, unless you're getting consistent results or you're a very old school manager. I expect Liverpool to go through 10 managers over the next 10 years after Cop leaves. Mick Coleman plus surely has something to prove. More Diddley says Pep Legendas, please. Do you know who that is?
Is that the latest comment being put in?
Yeah, well, that's no more. It's on screen now. There you go. When it comes to managers, it will be someone we've never heard of. Yeah, I've heard some Uruguay manager that Speakman's favourite. I can't think what his name was now.
Well, it's obviously the Satori, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another name mentioned on there, which I wouldn't be against at all, from Marion and Carl Taylor, Scott Parker.
Scott Park. I was keen on him for a while, but I think there's better options.
I don't know. I still think he's a valuable manager for that league. I'm not sure whether he'll be the option long term, but how long term does the club really want to go? For me, Steve Cooper and Scott Parker, I think are decent options right now. Steve Cooper, the ex-Forest manager.
I've got to mention this one, Colin Major. Lads, do you not think it's time for Kevin Phillips? What do you think about Kevin Phillips? I mean, that's probably as a manager. If he could come in and start getting results pretty quickish, that's a manager that the crowd's going to be very forgiving of, no matter what result he gets. He's going to be super Kev.
Season ticket sales will be through the roof. But
Arca is his assistant.
Well, Phillips has proved more in his managerial stint than what Arca has.
Yeah.
Arca only lasted about 6 months, didn't he? And you got sacked.
I'm not sure. But I mean, I would be open to giving a chance to Phillips. Would you? Nostalgia aside, managerial wise, would you take Phillips?
If there's one person that I don't want his reputation ruined, it's that man.
That's the problem. The problem. Yeah, destroying a legacy in one season. Right, let's. We've got 145 people watching. We're not far off the end. We won't be doing too long tonight, everyone. I appreciate your comments, appreciate support. Hit the like button if you're here. Love to get past 100 likes every live. It really does help out the channel. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And there's a membership option. It's only $1.99. Absolute bargain. Member exclusive content and all that jazz. So, upcoming fixture. Dodds' first game in charge.
Swansea City.
Swansea. Yeah, this is the thing. Right. I'll kind of go first on this, purely based on I think we are cursed against Welsh teams. I said it before Cardiff, and I'll say it again now. We've got a thing with Welsh teams that we struggle with. We've not beat Swansea since January 2016. The last 5 games against Swansea has been 4 losses and 1 draw. The draw was November. I've really struggled for this one because we're in the middle of a transition. We've got a load of injured players, and I feel like it's a bogey team. He needs to do something extreme for me. We need to see Rusin on the left, Mundell on the right.
Is that left
and
of
then
like a 4 in midfield or left of a front 3?
Left of a front 3.
Yeah.
Mundell on the right, Rusin on the left, and Hamir in the centre. And he needs to go for it. What's your thoughts of coming up to Swansea? Are you going to the game is the other question.
I am indeed, mate. Trains booked for Saturday morning. Going back in a day job could be a decision I regret massively come 4:45, but we do it for the love of them. And I'm up there at the weekend. I definitely would have gone up. It wouldn't have gone up if Beale had remained in charge. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah. Anna Wilkie, thank you for becoming a member. Way. Excellent. So what's your prediction then? I know it's a difficult one, this one. what's your prediction for Swansea? Everyone in the chat as well, quickly. I know we've got loads of comments. There's no way I can get through them all, but get your score predictions in now, and we'll go through them really
Part of
quickly.
me thinks I think we've been pretty good at home all season. I don't think we'll lose the game, but I can see it being like a 1-1 draw, something like that. I think they could potentially score, like, I don't know, from a set piece or a pen, and then we'll equalise late on.
Yeah.
Finally, it'll be nice to see us perform in a second 45 minutes, something that we didn't do under Beale a lot compared to the first 45.
Well, we know I can't predict the loss, even though everything in my head is going, oh no, we're doomed. But I think the lads will give one big hooray for Beale out the door, and we're going to win 2-0.
I'll say 2-1.
Mundle's going to score.
Yeah, I'd back that. I'll say 2-1 purely because I'm not fully convinced by us as a side defensively at this moment in time, and with the lack of options that we'll have for this weekend as well, particularly without Ballard as well.
Yeah. Susan Beaumont has gone Sunderland win 3-1. SJ's gone 1-1 draw. Dean SAFC says 3-1 to the lads. Stephen Clark says 2-1 to the lads, Rusin and Mundle. Viv73 says 2-2, the high scoring draw. And Paul Heron says big win, 4 goals. Well, I'll be doing commentary on SAFC Fan TV, so let's hope so. And Jacob will be down there celebrating, so let's hope so as well. Conrad Tank says 3-1. Everyone's going with the Philly 3-1 at the moment.
Emma's as part of the prawn sandwich brigade.
Right. Okay.
She's in the posh seats.
Nice. Noah Pennick says 4-3 Rusin winner. Leighton Mills says 2-0 to the lads, rejuvenated under Dodds. And Real JBA says 1-0. Majority going for a win, few going for a draw, nobody's going for a loss. So positive all the way around. I think if there's nothing else you want to bring up for this one, Jacob, I think we can call that a day today.
Swansea, looking at their recent form, despite being without Clark, the players who've now got the opportunity should be all fired up for a game like this. If they're going off recent, I know they've got solid players for this level. The likes of, was it Joe Allen's still there, Matt Grimes, Kyle Norton as well, Yates up front. But yeah, I know you're a superstitious guy, Michael. We've got bogey teams and all sorts, but I thought this past year, we've broken a lot of hoodoos regarding that, particularly when I think that was this season when we beat Stoke at home. I can't remember the last time we beat in a home game. I think it was when we had Big Sam in charge. So yeah, I can understand. Swansea are just one of those sides in it where we just, the Swansea way that they like to play possession-based games, similar to ours really, but they are usually the ones that come out on top. I just hope it's not a repeat of this same fixture we saw at the Stadium of Light last season, where didn't 09 get sent off in like the first 20 minutes?
God, yeah.
3-1 defeat.
We can't have him get a yellow card, never mind even be sent off. Do you think Doddsy will roll the dice here and proper go for it? He's got a point to prove being in charge again now,
I don't think he may go for it at some point, but I don't think he'll do that from the start. I think he'll play a system where will be a lot more solid, I should say, compared to what we were under Beale for the first 45 minutes at least. And I think when the game gets stretched, he may put what he calls his attacking reinforcements on the pitch, but it'll be interesting to see who those are.
If we've got any reinforcements left by game day. Take a shirt, Jacob. You might be on the bench.
It's the best of what we've got available. I just know, Hans, that he will have completely different ideas to Beale. Even that he may, without Clark, he could pick a similar side, but I trust Dodds to get more out of these players and play differently to what Beale did. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. We've had time for a few more last-minute predictions to come in before we end. Marianne and Carl Taylor says, nice if we win 5-0. Can you remember when Quinny and Superkev both got injured and our very next game we hammered Oxford 7-0? Emma Hansen's finally made it to the party. She says, evening, lads. Sorry I'm late. Leighton Mills said, great live vlog, lads. Cheers. Susan Beaumont has got Dodds' tactics all nailed up by saying, away the lads, run free and wild. There we go. That's a good tactic. John Nesbitt, one half of the famous Nesbitt brothers that are always appearing on the channel, says, pleasantly surprised, win 2-1. Hopefully playoffs gone now. Hopefully playoffs gone now. Okay. Mandy...
Reword that one.
Yeah. Mandy Gray says 1-0 to Sunderland. Ekwa scoring.
He's due. One thing about Pierre, I mean, it was sort of like a short layoff against Plymouth and just a roll into the bottom corner, really considering it went under the wall rather than above it. I think before the end of the season, we will see a screamer from a free kick scored by him. It's getting closer. I'm just feeling it.
Yes, I like him. I just thought he's been played too defensive in every game. So let's see what happens now. He's got a different person in charge. Well, SJ tries to trip me up by saying, so will cost 25 million. SJ, you missed one out. You could have said, so will still cost 25 million. Emma's going 3-1. Anna Wilkie's going 4-0 to us. Some high scorers there today. John Ruddock, no chance to win with Stroud. Nigel Clough wouldn't be a bad shout, but I think we'd probably intimidate the board not being a yes man. Yeah, definitely. Right. I think that's about it for our time today. We've 135 people in. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Leave comments on the video afterwards by all means, and we'll try and pick it up in the next show. And yeah, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you're part of the channel, don't forget you can become a member for only $1.99 bargain. We've had one new member in this stream. Much appreciated. Jacob, do you want to say goodbye to the lads and lasses watching?
As Jack says, lads and lasses. Enjoy the game on Saturday. Beale's no longer here. Dodsey's at the wheel once again, with Dodsey returning from now until the end of the season. Whether we make playoffs or not, keep the faith.
Excellent. And from me, thanks for watching. I will do Jack's sign out because he disappeared and froze and his internet's gone all funny. So if you weren't watching, we'd just be a bunch of people just talking to ourselves. So it's you lot that make the show. So see you all later, lads and lasses.